All right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN 4. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan. Beautiful Monday afternoon here in Toronto. Beautiful
Beautiful day.
Loving it.
I thought about you guys today because it's kind of nice. And I've started to wear a new outfit to the gym that I never thought I would break out.
Really?
It is the long spandex with the shorts. It's the no.
I can't.
No.
I can't allow.
Hang on
you
a
to do
sec.
that.
When I used to see that, I would be like, "Who do you think you are, Kevin Durant?"
Right.
Now I'm going with it.
What's the purpose,
dude?
What does it do for you? Spandex under the shorts. What does it do?
It keeps my legs tight, and I feel good. And I don't know. I feel more athletic. I feel like an athlete.
You feel more athletic. Okay, so it's a vanity play.
What color are they?
Please
like
tell
a
me they're
bright blue or something.
A hot
right?
pink, baby blue.
No, I've made this. I got this little thing going where I'm like all black, Johnny Cash at the gym. So it's black spandex long with black shorts. And I think it's a vibe. And I never thought.
You wear a toque? That's a big place.
You wear like a headband or something?
Oh, yeah, the headband like you're in Roadhouse.
I did do the black toque as well today, and it was a vibe. It's a movement, and I never thought I would go with it because, let's be honest, I, in the last 10 years, have not been in the gym a lot. And I went with it, and it's a vibe, and you got to feel it, and you got to run with it.
Do you think you can bring that on the golf course? Could you pull that off on a golf course? Why not? Like if you're, athleticism is coming into golf, right? I know it's still a little bit stuffy and, it's not necessarily like lax rules when it comes to certain clubs.
I
Why
understand.
can't you rock it, with a nice pair of G4 shorts, G4 shirt, and a pair of spandex? Why not?
I understand there's like a new movement in golf where it's kind of a little bit relaxed. The hoodie came into play.
Yeah.
And even I was watching the BMW in England a couple years ago, and they're like, Terrell Hatton had a hoodie on. They're like, it's kind of cool now. But I think that some people are taking it too far where they're showing up in a T-shirt and sweatshorts at
Kevin Na, basically. Kevin Na, but he's playing live, so it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah,
but Kevin Na literally is in a T-shirt and a pair of, gym shorts and
tuck some things
78.
in. There, you got to keep up with the tradition there. I don't think it's getting a little bit too far.
I agree with you. I agree.
Yeah,
okay, the spandex at the gym. I never thought I'd see the day. When I go to the gym, I'm at Planet Fitness all the time now. I see it. It is a movement. I can't pull it off. I can't do it.
Dude, you can though. You're tall, slender. You go with a white spandex and like a light green short. I'm telling you, Hayes.
Hayes is a fraud stuff. That's fraudulent. And I need a little PSA here. We need to start moving this in a different direction. All right, I was down at the Leaf game on Saturday, and they're flying everywhere. Noodles, you and I, we were down there, and it's getting to a point now where people
it's bothering you.
No, it's not bothering me necessarily. What I'm noticing is that
it's gone to a different level.
Well, people aren't sure how they're supposed to bring it to the table. Now, I will say this, guys, unlike yourself, Owen, we had this discussion last week where you're cool with just sparking conversations with random people.
You don't want to talk to anybody, so it might be a little bit weird.
That's not the truth. I will talk to anybody. I don't want my reputation to be known as someone who is you cannot approach. I'm happy to talk with anybody. I will always be cordial. Where I disagree with you is I'm not sparking. Hey, nice spandex. Where'd you get That's you. I'm not doing that. I'm not sparking the conversation, but I will happily continue the conversation and be a part of it. But my buddy, I was out for dinner over the weekend. He brought this up. He's a quieter guy. He's like, you know what? A lot of guys, we're uncomfortable breaking the ice. Men are different. We're wired differently. Sometimes you don't really know how to spark a conversation. And it's kind of an icebreaker, and it's a way of staying high. You just yell out, Hayes is a fraud. And it's like the ice is broken. And I have an appreciation for that. But it's to a point now where it's being fired everywhere. And then some people are doing the pause. Hayes is a good guy. Hey, Hayes, how are you? I'm like, all right, you don't have to do that. I don't need the pause. You Noodles, I was telling you about that on Saturday. Yeah. Some guy's like, Hayes is a, and it was like a really delayed pause. I'm like, go ahead. Good guy. I'm like, all right, thanks, man. See you later. Go Leafs. Have fun tonight.
I got it today at Fortino's. I was ordering some pierogies, and I turned, and the guy's like, Hayes is a fraud, and but he was cool about it. He goes, hey, big fan of the show, listen to you guys every day. But you're right, it was an icebreaker.
The thing is, Noodles, it's tough to respond to because it's like, okay, you said Hayes is a fraud. Now, what do you want to hear back? Do you want to hear, oh, yeah, he is a fraud in real life? Like,
right. I'm supposed to say thanks.
And I can't imagine for you, it's just like, oh, okay, thanks for the comment.
But I know what it is. Like, I know the nature of it. So I know people are coming at it from a
term of endearment.
Of course. It's not, people aren't actually suggesting that. Now, you know that there are some people that just can't pick up on P's and Q's in terms of, out in social and on social media and stuff like that. But, maybe mix in a Hayes is a stud every once in a while, or Hayes is handsome, or Hayes is a scratch golfer, or something. Like, if we're making stuff up, why could it not have been Hayes can hit a golf ball 320 off the tee? Why not that? But
okay, so people come up with something a little different.
Let's get a little creative. But Hayes is a fraud is all good. It's out there, and it was fun on Saturday night, man. I'll say that.
Yeah.
It's always different. There. It was unbelievable. Like, that was the ticket of the year, speaking with friends of mine who are in the industry of, dealing with clients or maybe being in a position where they might receive that because of the business they're in. Back in September, October, that was the ticket all year. It was McDavid whenever he's there, when the Oilers are there. It's been established, more so than the Canadians, than the Sens, the Bruins, Tampa. Nothing can match it when the Oilers are in town. And it's largely because of the one guy. It's about going to see McDavid, but Draisaitl factors in, and Hyman, and they're a really good team. And you could feel it, going downtown and walking around downtown and walking into the rink, and a lot of Oiler fans. But, there's a real buzz. There's a real vibe. And, for the Leafs, if you're a Leaf fan, that's the pinnacle win of the year. Like, there's nothing you're going to remember more than them just blowing the doors off Edmonton. And I know in the third it got a little bit dicey, but they were up 5-0 at one point, and it's Bobby McMahon and Pontus Holmberg and Domi's winning fights, and Edmondson's laying beatings on guys, and like everything you'd want to see. Outside of, if you're an objective fan, if you wanted the McDavid show, you got cheated. Let's call it what it is. He didn't have a good night. Like, based on his standards, he didn't really show up, and that's disappointing because you want to see him do something great, and he still has his moments because he's so good, but he and Draisaitl, Hyman, they just never really got going. They had that early power play. They couldn't get on the board. But I think the vibe, if you could bottle that and, sprinkle it over the other 40 home games, you'd have something really, really special because it was awesome Saturday night.
Had a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah.
Like, it had some hits, some agitation. Like, that's kind of felt like a playoff vibe. Like, two good teams kind of going at it. For me, I didn't think Edmonton played very well, and I thought the Leafs played arguably their best game of the season from a complete standpoint. Like, you get goals and all that. Yes, you'd like to see Matthews and, the guys getting involved, your star players. But, there was physicality, there was big hits, there was some emotion involved, there was frustration. You got McDavid frustrated. In Edmonton, I think they were pissed that there wasn't more pushback from Edmonton.
Yeah.
And it was the Leafs, because I've seen the Leafs get pushed out of games. Edmonton got pushed out of that game. That's rare.
No, that's what I loved about it is the Leafs almost had the approach where they understand that if they kind of just start with skill against the Oilers, it's probably going to be game over. If they're just out there trying to go up and down the ice, because Edmonton will crush. They'll crush you in that game with McDavid and company, and they'll fly up and down the ice. It seemed like there was a real sense of purpose, and it started with kind of structure and work, and then skill plays developed after that. Yeah. And I've been asking for it for years, where it's like you got to totally change your approach to the game, where it started with feistiness and puck. You just see the intensity. After they got their butt kicked in Philly, it was like, let's wake up a little bit here. And I think the coach has a big part to do with that. And it's just the intensity on pucks and battling and the physicality from Edmondson and McCabe on the back end. And then skill plays open up and happen after that. But it starts with that approach. And even the game last night, well, one thing about the Edmonton Oilers, guys, they played a couple nights. Like, that's a tough travel. They played what would it be? They played
Thursday
Thursday
night,
night, traveled Friday, and then a back-to-back Toronto, Ottawa. Like, that's tough travel. Like, you know, they haven't been their best the last 48 hours, but that's tough on a team. And Toronto goes into Carolina on Sunday night, and that's a tough one. I mean, that's a heater team sitting there for you. And I think a good team would win that game yesterday like 3 out of 10 times.
Yeah, I agree.
Because-
I thought the fact that it was 2-1 was actually a positive.
Yeah,
for the
they were
Leafs.
garbage in the first period. They got it together, and they had a chance to win. They gave themselves a chance to get back in the hockey game. And I think even the team that they played, who's real quality, they would win that game like a real good team might win that one 3 out of 10 times. That's just how difficult that game is when you got a quality team sitting at home. But they gave themselves a chance, and Freddie Anderson was pretty damn good last night.
Well, he made some big saves at the right
did.
time like that, and he got lucky. I thought both goalies played really well last night, like, you know, really, really well. I went back and watched that game, and I thought Joseph Woll made some big saves, and you know, but when you're playing well, you get a little bit of luck. And I also thought Freddie Anderson had a couple really lucky plays. Like Noah Gregor had a wide open net in the back door that hits the side of the net, rolls through underneath bodies. Like that would have, on a given night where things are kind of rolling for you, that just goes in the net. Even Matthews had the one-timer. Freddie makes a great save. Then he comes back short side, tries to stuff it, and it kind of bounces off the side of the net. Like, Matthews scores those goals. Like, Freddie was having a night where he looked really good, but he also got the really good, like, bounces. And same thing with Joseph Woll. I thought Joseph Woll played really well.
Really,
I think he's got an opportunity, guys. I don't know what you think, but Samsonov, again, it's getting to a point where I just don't know if I trust it. Like, I don't know if you can trust it because – and you can't blame injuries, but it's like if you're going to go and you're going to be the guy in the playoffs, it's like, and I know that's a save where he's just trying to compete and make a save, but it's like in the playoffs against the Florida Panthers, he went down, and it's either his play at the beginning of the year and the injury type stuff, I don't know if I can trust it long term or any type of a playoff run. So if I'm Joseph Woll, I'm looking at this situation saying, maybe I'm going to get some runway here, and maybe I have an excellent opportunity because there's no other way to look at it. He's got to have that in front of him, and he's got to take advantage of it.
Yeah, Joseph Woll has to concentrate on his game, but you're right, like there is an opportunity. I haven't seen an update other than Sheldon saying they didn't, think it was that bad.
I think he's okay. Yeah.
So
I was surprised that update came. Like when he was leaving the ice, I think everyone thought. Guy just blew his groin out
for the year. Yeah,
I thought that too because watching the body language, a lot of times from the camera above is a lot of times the best to see kind of how things unfold. He was in complete splits and it looked like something bit on him, and then he laid there to help him off. I'm like, oh my God, like this is not good. And all I could think as a goaltender is like, that's a groin, that's a hip, that's lower back, something lower body. And then to have Sheldon come out going, yeah, it seems to be fine. I'm like, okay, but maybe. Again, the only thing I could think of, I was a goalie that had hydration issues. So maybe there was a muscle spasm in there that bit and wouldn't let up type of thing, which would speak to more like, hey, get some hydration and he's fine and can skate the next day. That's the only thing I could think of off of an injury that looked like could potentially a couple weeks to being like, yeah, it's not that bad. He's skating tomorrow or the next day type.
Right. And I don't know if they revealed before the game, but I was not aware that Joseph Woll had already flown to Carolina.
Yeah.
Smart idea.
Really smart play. But when Jones is coming over the board, so I'm like, what is going on here? Did I miss Woll going? Like, is he on the IR right now? What is happening? How did I miss that?
They had talked about it. And in a 3-goalie rotation, that happened with me once years ago with the Islanders. They started Hexy in like Vancouver and San Jose was the next night. So they sent on. And then Al Arbor found out that my brother lived in Vancouver. So he started me in Vancouver and sent Hexy on to San Jose.
Cool.
So it was kind of neat. But like they have done that, but you need a 3-goaltender system. Because you have to have somebody there, and somebody you trust, not David Ayers type of thing. So it was. I saw in warm up. I was there early at the game. I saw Jones out there. And
I didn't see that part. I don't know what I was doing. I was talking to people calling me frauds on the street.
You were shaking hands.
I was right in there, just right down there, having a great time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it sounds like Samsonov obviously dodged a bullet and he'll be okay. But I mean, they've never said anything publicly, nor should they. But Keefe did reveal, Saturday, I believe, after the skate, that they're basically going to go back and forth the rest of the way.
Yeah.
They get 12 games left, so you would presume, 6 apiece, Wall and Samsonov, and I think they believe Wall gives them a better chance. I think they trust Wall more, but I would guess what makes them hesitate is that he's still young. And he's had his own injury.
Well, I was just going to say, they both have had injury. Yeah.
A lot of playoff history. Not that Samsonov has a ton. Like, he's got more playoff history than Wall, but not substantially more. But I think Wall, when he's on his game, and Noodles, you would be able to break this down better than I would, but I think he gives them a comfort level. And I think they feel like Wall can steal them games. Like, he's got a better chance at stealing, where Samsonov is more about stability. But it's, a position that obviously is going to factor in come playoff time, but for the most part, they've made it work. Like, they've pieced it together over the course of the year, but they've made it work. And, you come out of the weekend and you had a big win on Saturday, borderline scheduled loss yesterday. Now you got 12 games left. You get Jersey here tomorrow. Travis Green will join us later in the afternoon. And, they're going where we know they're going to go. We keep having the same conversations. We don't know who they're going to play because Boston and Florida continue to jockey for position. And I guess Tampa's still behind them. Tampa went through California, I think, got 6 points.
Yeah.
They did.
They
did.
So
they're sniffing. Aren't they 4 points
They're 4
behind?
back. The Leafs have a game in hand, but they play each other 2 more times. So
that could get interesting, Hazy. That's not like a wipeout. Yeah.
No, it's not.
Well, and the other thing, too, guys, is if you go – I don't know, Joe, if you could post just the league standings. Isn't there like 7 teams within 1 point?
Yes.
Like, this is the crazy part about, like, jockeying for position. Like, think of it. Let's just say, and let get crazy, if Tampa caught the Leafs and the Leafs went down and, for example, the Rangers or, other teams, like is there any chance or is it just guaranteed no matter what, it's Boston or Florida?
No, because the Rangers could win the East. Carolina could win the East.
That's what I'm saying.
It could be any combination. If you're a wild card team, any combination of Florida, Boston, Carolina, the Rangers. It really could break any possible way. And the same thing, I guess, out west, because you have Vancouver, Colorado, Winnipeg, and I think Dallas. Like, they're all kind of within the same.
That Colorado's humming, man.
They're red hot right now. I mean, look at yesterday. It was 4-0 Pittsburgh, and Colorado came back and won in overtime.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of what we've been bracing for, is you get hot at the right time. And I think the Leafs can put their stake in the ground. And what are they, 14-4-1 or something like that in their last 19 games? Like, they're one of the 3 or 4 hottest teams in the league over the last month
isn't
and a
it
half.
Crazy, Hayes? Like,
2 months.
To be automatically in the heaters you have to go on, like to just be in that category, like you just said it, 14-4-1. It seems like in the past it would be like comfortable sailing, and it's like you got to keep fighting after that. There's like, it's crazy the good teams like the heaters you have to go on to stay at that level.
Absolutely.
But that's a parity in the league. And this is what the league wanted, this parity. Like, you've got 7 teams fighting for the President's Trophy right now. And there's 12 games left, 10-12 in that realm. That's pretty impressive if you just take a look from the outside. I know individual fan bases probably don't love it, but if you look at it from a product standpoint and said, hey, we've got a product here, we have no idea who's playing who for the most part in the playoffs, that looks like a pretty sellable thing for the game of hockey. And it's exciting. You're right. Like, you have to stay in it. And, you talk about a heater, and the Leafs have been on a heater, and they still don't know who they're going to play. They still
don't know who they're going to play. You just got to control who you are and what you are. But I like the way they're vibing right now. It's kind of similar to where they were a month ago. Remember when they went through Vegas and Colorado, and everything was starting to connect, and then they took a little bit of a step back. But in injuries, the lineup has changed, multiple times, and it will likely continue to. We don't know what's going to happen with Marner and Yarncroke, and they got to figure out their defense now because Brody goes in and Lyubushkin goes in, and you got Benoit coming out, and they're going to try to figure out, who those 6 guys are going to be between now and the playoffs. But I think what you saw on Saturday in particular is something that I think needs to be bottled, but also amplified about how they're possibly going to change their script here, because I liked the attitude they had. I liked how nasty they were. Joel Edmondson arrived on Saturday night. That's why you pick up Joel Edmondson. That's why you go get a guy that's 6'5", 230, that's mean and nasty and wants to fight, because he makes Draisaitl's life difficult and McDavid's life difficult. Like, he was going at them all night.
How anyone didn't think that was important in the past is beyond me, to be honest.
Well, exactly, but you have to have it. And what I've noticed is when Edmondson's got a snarl on and he's out there and McCabe's with him, McCabe is bigger and tougher and nastier and meaner and looking for fights. And Lyubushkin's going to hit everyone in sight. And, you know, I like the way Max Domi's playing right now. I want to give a shout-out to the captain. Tavares has been really good. Really, really good and business-like, not the same type of category of these other players we're talking about, but he's working hard. He's getting to tough areas. He's making plays. And, you know, McMahon's showing up. They've got a little bit of a snarl and an attitude, and they've got certain ingredients here that do feel different than what they've had in the past. And ultimately, it's going to come back to, of course, Matthews and Marner and Nylander and all those guys. But I like the way they're set up beyond those four players. You know, I like the type of attitude I think they're going to have come playoff time. They got to prove me right. They got to go out there and do it.
Yeah,
but
and those guys you just mentioned,
that,
Hayes,
going down
those
with
guys
a fight.
You just mentioned got to have just a tiny bit of it too. Not even a tiny bit, a lot of it. Wow. Like if Holmberg and McMahon and Edmondson are going to have that snarl and Max Domi, like everybody's got to have it. It's not like it's not a thing that's optional, right? Everyone's going to be all in.
Can that guy stop touching Tai Domi? That guy touching Tai Domi.
That guy.
What was going on there? Like, what, was it a guy just trying to get his?
I could only get his attention. Hey, Tai, what do you think? That was a good fight. And
I don't think Tai wanted to talk.
Tai was not in the mood. Not.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's difficult for him because he just wants to see his son play.
Exactly.
But he's such a recognizable.
He cannot
figure.
hide.
Why does he sit in the box though? Why is he sitting in the stands?
I wonder that myself. Like, he's always sat in the seats. He goes on the road. He sits in the seats. He's at Scotiabank. He's in the seats. Obviously, that's what he likes to do, and he's comfortable there. And he has all the right in the world to do it. The problem is, you're Tai Domi in the seats.
Yeah, so, you think Hayes is a fraud is a problem. Everyone wants to talk to that
Everyone
guy.
wants to talk to Tai. And after that, Max, it was a great fight. And he gets up smiling. The place is going bananas. And, Tai doesn't want to show emotion because he probably knows the cameras are on him, too. What's he going to do, get up and give a standing ovation because of the fight? He's not going to do that. But it's...
But as an old man, when you're watching your son fight, you're like,
Well, wasn't it?
He had to be happy with that one. He should.
Wasn't it the kid from Boston, that Frederick? Remember his parents? I don't know if you can pull that video. His parents were in the stands for his first game, and he fought. I think he fought against St. Louis or something. And his dad and his mom were like shadow boxing. Like, it was like unbelievable. What if Tai stood up and was like, because he would. He loves his son. I'm sure the emotions were just eating him.
Of course.
And then you got a guy trying to pet him over there. Like, he probably was going to rip that guy's arm off and beat him over the head with it.
Like, the first time you gave the pat, all right, you can't go back for a second pat. You can't do the second pat with Tai because the first one he was kind of giving off a vibe like, hey, just watching the game and the cameras are probably on.
Trying to
Let's
enjoy
just relax here. And the second pat is like, okay, I got it, but I also got to let you know that there can't be a third. There cannot be a third pat.
Third pat.
The third pat could have led to not an infraction,
what it was?
but
the third pat.
Oh, that was the second pat.
That was the death stare after the second one.
The third pat is the penalty box treatment. That's what it is. The guy goes over the glass. Like, that's
Watch
what it
the
is.
lawsuit, Tai. Watch the lawsuit.
Exactly.
All right, we got Struddy coming up. Jason Strutter will join us just after 5. We've got Travis Green, head coach of the Devils, coming up, former Leaf himself. He'll join us ahead of their game tomorrow night. Shohei Ohtani is making a statement at 5:45.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's an interpreter involved in that. I would assume the statement's got to be in Japanese. It has to be. So we'll see what comes of that. But he's not fielding questions. I feel like this is going to be.
Dude, you got to field.
You got to field some questions, man.
I know.
Like
maybe you just work with your PR guy and you can set some people up in the crowd or whatever. But to go up there and say, I'm just not answering questions, it's goofy.
It is, but I've got a question. Sheldon Keefe's media yesterday, he looked like Tai Domi there for a second. Because I don't know who asked him 3 questions in a row, and it was basically the same question phrased 3 different ways. I'm telling you, Sheldon looked like he wanted to choke that guy out.
Really?
I don't know who
I
it
didn't
was.
pick up on that. I didn't see the post game.
It was 40 seconds, and he asked him about. I can't remember. I was
from
like,
the bridge. Try to find.
All right,
we got to find it.
I got to see this.
I got to
hear it.
Yeah,
because Tortorella was all bent out of shape too. Because someone asked him, I think, a routine question about the goaltender. Like the guy was a mess. That's
And Torts was basically looking. Torts was basically looking at him like you knew the guy stunk the joint out.
Right.
Like just have a comment, Torts. Like I don't know.
Just exactly. Like just say obviously he wasn't that good. Now they also didn't score any goals, so
no kidding.
Maybe someone else could have stepped up.
Yeah.
But
the stupid cast too. The cast is killing me.
When did he break his? Must have broken a few fingers or something because he's got like a.
Yeah,
it's a weird, like it's a handshake cast.
Right.
I don't know. It's a really weird.
He's got something cooking there. Towards. All right, we'll find the Keefe. We'll track the Shohei Ohtani. We'll try to turn that around as quickly as we can. And the Raptors are in action again tonight. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, Jason Strudwick coming up. Struddy will join us. We'll get to something to chew on, brought to you by Boston Pizza around the Blue Jays and their win total because they wrapped up the spring today, and Gausman pitched really, really well. Like he was throwing smoke and mowing guys down. So
he's cooking. He's ready to go. He's not missing.
I have to believe he's going to pitch, right? He'll obviously be on a pitch count. I don't know what that number will be. Most guys, everyone is early in the season anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like, get ready for that. We're 2 weeks away from someone having a perfect game in the fifth inning and getting pulled from the game. Drives me crazy early in every season. Every single year. Wow, it's about the big picture. Really? You have a perfect game going and you're going to pull yourself happily?
And then the guy they put in just throws up a pizza and it's out of the park and it's like
immediately.
Immediately.
Yeah, immediately. But it's coming. I guarantee it. I guarantee within the first 2 weeks of the season, someone will have either a perfect game or a no-hitter and have to come out. Maybe it'll be Gausman because, he just didn't build up his arm enough. So I didn't see anything official coming out of Schneider and company, but it's a very good sign. He pitched really well today. Not great when it comes to Swanson and Romano, though, where Schneider did indicate it seems likely they're going to start the year on the IL. Ooh. So those are your two most important bullpen arms.
Yeah, that's a big blow.
They're going to miss some time early, man, and they're going to start on the road. Tough sked on the road, too, right? You're still trying to cross some T's and dot some I's down at the Rogers Center with the Renos, and it's going to be a grind. It's going to be a grind. So we'll get to that a little bit later on. Again, Shohei Ohtani is issuing a statement at 5:45 Eastern Time. No questions. So I feel like it'll be like a presidential thing where people are just going to start yelling at him. Like, don't you think the media is they're not going to take no for an answer. He'll have to do the walkout. It's always awkward when the politician comes out, says something, and then just walks away and people are yelling at him.
Dude, it was like Tiger Woods when he had that big controversy. He walked out and made his statement, and I think people had a bunch of questions, and then he just disappeared.
You have to yell. It's almost like journalistic, like, it's not integrity, it's not mandatory, borderline heroic at times, but you feel like you got to throw something out.
No, I know. I watch a lot of crime TV, and when the bad guy goes to the cop car, there's a guy with a microphone. He's like, "Hey, why'd you do that?" The guy's just like,
yeah, exactly. You got to ask the question. You got to get in there, even though it's been predetermined. It's been announced. He is not going to, he's not going to stop and say, "You know what? That's a great question. Now that I think about it, I will answer that." I completely revised my plan because you shouted that question out. I will answer it, but. I'm curious to see where this goes, man, because we knew it wasn't going to sleep. They tried the news dump on Friday, right? 6 o'clock on Friday. The old MLB investigation is officially underway. But something's going to give there. That is for sure. So, that's coming. All right, so Struddy in about a half an hour. And we got Travis Green coming up. They've got New Jersey 3 times in the next 2 weeks.
It's a bit weird, eh?
Which is really strange coming down the stretch because, for the Leafs, you've got some big games upcoming clearly against Florida. You got 2 against Florida, 2 against Tampa. But then you also, you got Jersey in there. You've got a couple of teams like Buffalo in there. They got Montreal again, and now like we referenced in the last segment, you got Tampa who are only 4 points behind them, and they play Tampa 2 more times. Yet with the uncertainty of what's going to happen in the standings anyway, it doesn't really change anything. Even if you drop to the first wild card, it's still as undetermined as it would be if you were the third seed in your own division.
And you might get something. I don't know. The more I think
mix
about
it up, I'm kind of for that, Noodles.
That's what I was just going to say. Like, you don't want to end the season kind of dropping down on a poor note or anything like that.
Yeah, but
you
Noodles,
also
if
might
they
get a better
team
matchup.
like, if they get like, I would die for the Rangers. Just something different. A little
Rangers
bit different.
Rangers and Carolina. Mix it up a little bit. Face Freddie Anderson in the first round. What a story that would be.
Yes, like if it's just Boston, although it's intriguing with the past and blah, 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 it just seems like you go to the well on our show, SportsCenter, the SportsCenter hits, it's like the same storylines. Yeah. The ghosts of the past, can they deal with the toughness of Florida? I would love for Carolina or the Rangers in some capacity.
Yeah, like when would be the last time they played the Rangers in the playoffs?
Dude, I don't even remember.
I don't remember either. I don't remember.
You're right. It's different, but keep in mind those teams are hell of a teams too. Like
they're
all
really no kidding.
All of them are like, including the Leafs. They're all really strong teams. But I'm not saying, people are saying, well, careful what you wish for. We want the Rangers, we want Carolina. That I'm not saying those. I'm just saying from a different standpoint, not from competitive standpoint, because Carolina is a damn good team, and so is the Rangers. And the goalie scares me with the Rangers because he's an X factor. He's an X factor. But I'm just looking at it from something different. It's instead of going Florida, Boston. It's like, okay, maybe it is the Rangers, maybe it is Carolina.
Yeah.
But
the Rangers would be cool. Like JP just said, they have not played the Rangers in the playoffs since 70-71. 50
I'd love to go to New York too. Could we? Maybe we could go to a Ranger, like an MSG.
Noodles, stop it. We don't travel, bud. We don't travel.
We could maybe go to Buffalo and watch the game.
We did back in the day, though. We did back in the day, though. Me and Taddy, we were scheduled in the Boston playoff series.
Man.
No, me and Taddy were scheduled to go to New York City together for the first two games in New York. Those were the golden days.
Yeah.
Those were the golden days.
That's when they puked away 4-1 with 11 minutes to go.
Yeah.
Everyone was looking at the same thing. They were going to New York to play the Rangers.
I know. We had our passports. We handed them to Todd Hayes. He took them. The game was over. He came back and handed them back to us.
Said, you wasted my time.
See you guys next year.
Thanks for wasting my time. We'll see you next year.
What about the Tat Man, though? He would have had vinyl with him. He would have had his socks pulled up.
He owns New York City.
Right.
The Tat Man owns New York City.
But imagine the Garden. You're right, Noodles. Like you go to the Garden, Game 7, Leafs Rangers at the Garden for the first time.
Guys, I've told you, I go once a year around Christmas time with my wife or my kids to try to go to a Ranger game. It is a spectacle. I think it's one of the best places to watch a game in the National Hockey League. If you're just a fan of hockey, it doesn't matter who they play. Go to a Ranger game, and if you can get hit on the Devils or the Islanders or one of the New York area teams, it is awesome. The chants, the goal song, the celebration, it is a great thing if you're a hockey fan to go watch the Rangers in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Scored my first goal there. What a place.
There you go. What a place. The house that the O-Dog built. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, and the Knicks will be in the playoffs too, right? You'll have a lot of buzz there. The Rangers, the Knicks, the Yankees will be back. The Mets will be in town.
Yeah.
So yesterday was some history in the NHL. Zach Hyman got to 50.
Yeah.
Right? Of course, he scored on Saturday night. You knew that was going to happen. He scores last night in Ottawa. Noodles, you were there calling the game.
Yeah.
Sam Reinhart hit 50 too. Like no one would have been surprised, 4 or 5 months ago if you said Matthews going to be at 58, leading the league, heavy favorite to win the Rocket. But the idea that Hyman and Reinhart are 2 and 3 to reach the 50 mark. Nobody would have suggested that.
That would have been the odds on that alone, would have been astronomical. Because what did Hyman hit last year as a career high? 37?
High 30s.
36? Yeah. So, you progress. I would have thought, okay, if that power play even takes a little bit of a step back, he's still going to get, even if he has a great year, 40. 40.
Noodles, I wouldn't be shocked if he gets, I talked to Hayes yesterday, I wouldn't be shocked if this guy gets 60.
I know.
There's time left for him to just keep, he seems to get 2 every night.
He scores every single night.
I watch that power play, Edmonton, the Korpisalo stole that game last night.
Right.
The Oilers scored 2 power play goals, where it was just they were in the zone and they tried all these different routes. But the pass from McDavid, that was after they had run a couple routes going, okay, we're going to try Draisaitl down low. We're going to try the Bouchard one-timer. McDavid's going to change sides and walk down kind of on his strong side. And then, okay, now we're going to change our angle and seam it to Hyman as he slides off to the back door. Yeah. And you could see it coming. I can't remember who I was texting with today. Oh, Frankie. Hyman should have had 4 goals last night.
Right.
He had unbelievable chances.
That's what happened. And you see what kind of guy McJesus is, how happy he was. McJesus scores the best goals in the world, and he just goes back to the bench and takes a sip of water. Mm-hmm. He was fired up for Hyman. That just goes to show you that he's a class act, and he cares about his teammates, and he's fired up for Hyman.
Yeah, and I think it says a lot about Zach Hyman, too. I mean, that's who he is. He works his ass off. He shows up. He plays. He fight for McDavid. And listen, it's benefited McDavid greatly. Obviously, is it balanced more towards Hyman being the beneficiary of that duo? Of course it does.
Sure. Still got to put it in, man.
You still got to put it in. That's the whole point. Like I've been taken aback by the amount of people that are trying to downplay 50 goals by Hyman, and trying to downplay what he's accomplished here. And, obviously McDavid is a beast, and everything you just described, Noodles, he puts it on a tee for you. But the guy has to go there. He has to have the instincts to read it. He's got to get his stick on the ice. He's got to angle his stick properly.
No kidding.
Like, he's got to battle and grind and take beatings. And sure, it's not the 80s anymore, but it's still not that fun.
You got to do your thing when you play with a great player. I played with 2 of them, Ron Francis for a long time and Matt Sundin for not a very long time. And if you're not on your game yourself, those star players, I don't know if they would go to but it's kind of a known thing. You can't play with them if you're not ready to play and you play good every night, because they'll want somebody else, and they deserve somebody else, because they bring their A game every night. If you don't elevate and you're not ready to play with big boys, you got no chance to stay with them. So you got to do your thing. Hyman deserves all the props in the world.
He does, and it's a great point, because otherwise anybody could just play with them. And that's not the case. It's not the case. They put Connor Brown there. He struggled to score goals. Absolutely. They put other players there. You have to have a fit. Like, initially, remember Taylor Hall? Taylor Hall is going to, fit wherever he goes. Like, it doesn't work sometimes. You have to have a special mindset. You have to pay a price, and you have to have that chemistry. Sidney Crosby, it worked with Kunitz and Dupuis. Those guys weren't star players, but they were great players in their own right, and they figured out how to play with one of the greatest players of all time. Mm-hmm. Zach Hyman has figured out how to play with Connor McDavid. He adds, and I remember talking to Dave Tippett and Jim Playfair when they got Hyman. They said, this is the exact player our team needs. The way he works, how hard he forechecks, it was everything that Zach Hyman brings was something that dressing room and that culture needed. Mm-hmm. And that's what Edmonton was very fortunate, and they felt fortunate to get him. And I think there were people, I think we might have been on this show, said, geez, that's a little bit rich for Hyman, 5.5 to go there. Mm-hmm. But good for him. We're happy he goes.
Oh, it's
and now they're calling that arguably the greatest free agent signing in Oiler history.
Yeah, and guys, just to clear up one thing, I think there's people out there that think the Maple Leafs offered like $4 a year. That wasn't the case.
No.
Like, it was very similar. There might have been... To my knowledge, there might have been an extra year or something like that, and Hyman's like, I'm taking it. It's not like the Leafs were like, we're not paying you at all.
No, I'm sure it was a competitive offer.
Of course,
they liked the guy. They wanted to keep the guy. That's what happens. Guys come and go. It sounds as if there might have been a holdup on a no movement and a no trade, and that still might be an issue for Edmonton. It might be. In 2 or 3 years, his wheels might fall off, and they may be stuck.
Hey, that could be an issue with any of these guys.
It could be with anybody. That's what you get. Unless you're signing a superstar who's 24 years old that you think you're pretty safe with for the next 7 to 8 years. You sign a true free agent who's 27, 28, give him 7 or 8 years and a no move, that can cause problems. At some point the wheels can fall off.
Eventually
it might. It might, but through 3 years, which I believe it's been an absolute grand slam. Like an absolute grand slam, and credit to him, because Hyman, he's 31, he's playing the best hockey of his life, and obviously he'd be a great Leaf. That's one that got away. Like, there's no denying that. Would he have the same numbers here? No, but he'd still have a massive impact. And he was getting better and better and better. And that's a testament to his willpower and his ability to seek out a great opportunity, because that's another thing too. I'm sure the Oilers weren't the only team offering him a deal, right? The Leafs were, the Oilers were. I'm sure he could have gone somewhere else and been like, I can be closer to the man. Not the man, but closer to it. Where when he went to Edmonton, it was well established. That's McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins. You're further down the list. You got to find your role. You'll be somewhere in the top 6. You'll get an opportunity. But,
he's a big part of them now, boy.
He's a huge part of them. Like the opening lineup the other night, I'm watching them on the blue line for O Canada. It's like Hyman, McDavid, Draisaitl starting the game. You're like, that's a line, man. Like that's something else. That's a 50-goal scorer. The other 2 guys are Hart Trophy winners and the best player in the world and the 4th or 5th or whatever best player in the world. That's how good they are. And again, to flip it back on what the Leafs accomplished on Saturday with injuries, Bertuzzi didn't play, Marner didn't play, Yarncrook didn't play. And they went out there and just overpowered the Oilers. They played great, and we'll see what they've got tomorrow night. Jason Strudwick will join us in 20. Travis Green still to come. We're going to get to some awards. We're going to do this all week, I guess, like one category per day. I think that's
very
the plan.
simple. Here's what's going to happen. We don't get to vote. For some reason, people don't want us voting. And Noodles is key in this because he is going to acknowledge the list.
Yep.
And they're going to be different, and he has to say, I like this list better. And maybe that will get someone's attention to call upon one of us where we get the call this year to vote on major awards.
Okay. I like it.
I thought it was because I thought you left me out because I actually do vote on the awards.
Well, that's part of the reason, too, but you have to just look at these lists and critique and say, that one is better. We're not going to soften this and say, I like both. You have to say, this one's...
One.
Okay,
you've got to pick one and say this one is better.
Okay, and the other thing too is, are we doing lists of like top 3, top 5? Or you're going to lay out the rules once?
It's like an official ballot. We're trying to get people's attention to look at us and get us involved in the mix.
We're sending a vibe out today. Spandex under the shorts, and we're voting, and we're doing a list.
Do you not think I can pull it off? Like I'm a former professional athlete, man.
Well, I've got
black on black.
I think it's not you're closer to 50 than 20. I think that's the problem. I've seen that guy. The guy, I don't know. I don't think he can pull off the spandex.
I was just going to say, we need this.
Turn it off, JP. Turn it off, JP.
Turn it off. I don't want to hear that right now.
I've got a story for you guys, though. I'm not lying. I was going to bring this up earlier. So you guys know, and you know Paul Coffey quite well. And so I see Paul before the game yesterday. We have a good chat, talk about the team, all of that stuff. After the first period, I'm walking by. He comes out. We've just gone and talked to the team. Comes out, calls me over, and he said, looks great.
Wow.
He goes, I saw him the other day, and he goes, has he lost a bunch of weight? And I said, yes, he is. He's working on it. I said, it's a work in progress. He's not where he wants to be, but I said, he's done a great job. He goes, I saw him on TV. He looks great. You need to tell him. From me, he looks amazing. Tell him Paul says, this is Paul Coffey.
That's a Hall of Fame testimony.
In between periods, though. In between periods, he's coaching a game.
I love it.
And calls me over. I'm thinking, all right, what's he calling me over for? And he said, say hi to O and the boys. And he said, tell O he looks amazing. That's what he said. Paul Coffey.
That guy once told me, he was the best. The ultimate veteran, we used to call him. And I asked him one day, I said, Coff, how long before you think Harry Neal or Bob Cole would call me, like, when they say, O'Neill, the veteran class, I go, how long do you think, I was a young guy, it was maybe my first year in the league, how long before Bob Cole says, O'Neill, the veteran, crosses the blue line? And he said, you got to put 10 years in before anything like that happens. And I was like, 10 years? And I remember texting him when I heard a replay of Bob Cole saying the veteran. And I said, he finally said it, Coff. He called me the veteran.
That
guy was awesome,
too, man. Bob Cole and Paul Coffey in your corner. Yeah. Now we're talking.
Yeah,
now we're talking. They support the spandex under the shorts, then I do too. Bob Cole's in that corner. Paul Coffey's in that corner. Who am I to possibly push back? All right, there you go. Paul Coffey's seeing the results, too. Everything's coming together. A little shout-out. I love it. Yeah. All right, Struddy coming up. Travis Green later this afternoon. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Tell you what, if you've been betting golf all year on the FanDuel Sportsbook app and hitting winners, you are worth a fortune because it's long shots basically every week.
Crazy, man.
Every week.
And the I watch golf all day long, and they're saying, like, all these winners are, like, nice storylines. I think that's nice for saying that's not the case. Like,
right. Well, I mean, you had back-to-back Scheffler, right, at the Arnie Palmer.
They needed that.
Exactly. Big wig. You had a great Players' Championship, but this weekend there was a lot of fluctuation. Like, the leaders completely soiled themselves
Mac
yesterday.
Hughes was right in it in 12 and 13.
He had it.
12 and 13 screwed him.
Yep. He had it. He bogeys 12. He puts one in the water on 13, and that was it. It was over.
Yeah.
And
dude, what about Keith Mitchell? They couldn't
even show him down the stretch.
Dude, he was you at Coppenwood.
It was a disaster. Him hooking off, like, he was wide left every single tee shot. And in the trees, and his punch-out game was on point. And Seamus Power was even worse. Like, it was the worst final pairing on tour. And Peter Malnati with his bucket hat and yellow ball sneak in there and get himself a win. So there you go. All right, hour 2 coming up. Jason Strudwick will join us. The award shows, it will resume. We're at it this week. We'll tell you more about that into the next hour. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.